We're going to now bring in Trey Yingst, who we just spoke to on the phone. He's now live on camera, I believe, from the airport in Kabul. Trey, I think we'll get you up on a shot there. Amazing to see you there. It's the first reporting I've seen there inside the airport. Set the scene for us, Trey.
Guys, we just arrived here in Kabul, Afghanistan, with the Qatari military. They are shuttling Afghans to Doha, where they will temporarily remain until they're able to find a safe home. You can see behind me, there are civilians lined up here at the airport. These are the lucky ones, those who made it past the chaos outside, past the Taliban checkpoints across the city of Kabul. It's been 1 week since the Taliban took over Kabul and formally took over Afghanistan. And the people here are tired. You see it on their faces, you hear it in their voices, but they are also relieved because they understand the implications of an Afghanistan ruled by the Taliban. Remember, as the Taliban made these territorial gains, they took weapons, they took machinery, and now they are a force that many believe here in Afghanistan cannot be reckoned with. And that is why you see so many people behind me getting on these planes to anywhere. And the scene here, of people heading to, they will travel to places like Qatar, the UAE, and Pakistan. But the scene just outside the gates remains pure chaos. American troops are doing everything they can to get those who have the correct paperwork through, both Afghans and American citizens. But there's a major question about what to do with the Americans who cannot make it to this airport, because they are currently stranded, and the Taliban, day in and day out, is threatening those Americans. They are setting up more and more checkpoints, and it is becoming increasingly dangerous to be an American citizen here in Afghanistan.
Trey, first of all, appreciate this reporting. It is great to have you on the ground there at the airport in Kabul. I want to explore that picture, which you've told us about on the phone as well, at the gates, at the checkpoints. We see the people behind you right now. It seems to me, listening to you, there's a choke point that then gathers a chaos, a crowd of people. Where are, for example, the people behind you vetted? Are they vetted before they get on the plane? Are they vetted outside at that gate, and that's the slowing down of the process? When and where does that take place?
So outside, it's really every man for themselves. It is pure insanity. There's really no other way to describe the scenes outside. Taliban fighters just feet away from American troops, and you have people like the Afghans behind me who have the correct paperwork. They have the visas that they need to leave Afghanistan, and they have to really work their way through the crowd to get into the airport. And that's why you saw those photos at the end of last week, heartbreaking photos of mothers handing their babies over barbed wire, over concrete walls, unsure if they would see them again. They're that desperate to flee the Taliban. And that is the processing that we see here. It is very chaotic outside, and when you get inside, you can see this orderly scene. Before everyone gets on the plane, Americans, Afghans, they are checked by the forces that they are traveling with, whether it is the Qataris, the Emiratis, the Americans. There's a security check to make sure that there's no contraband, that everyone is there and fleeing. And quite frankly, the people behind me are just those people. They are civilians who are simply trying to get to safety. The bad guys, the people who are terrorizing the country of Afghanistan are off in the distance. They are in the hillside off behind me. And they have taken over this country. And that is why you see the Afghans behind me doing everything they can to get to safety.
Trey, no one more terrorized in that country than, the Americans, but also women and children. So tell me, what is the breakdown that you're seeing of people trying to escape there in the area you are at the airport, of men to women and children?
Right now, it's a mixture of people. We see a lot of families and young children. The parents understand the gravity of this situation. They understand they may never return to Afghanistan. And that is extremely, extremely difficult to process. Many of the children, they're not quite sure what's happening. When you have a 4 or a 5-year-old suddenly ripped from their home and to an airport, and then to a country they certainly have never been to, it can be extremely difficult to process. But I want to talk about women for a second. Yesterday, my cameraman and I spoke with 5 university students from Kabul, all women, young women with bright futures ahead of them, studying political science and business. We talked about politics, we talked about culture, and we talked about the situation. And when you look in their eyes, they're trying so hard to be strong, so hard to be young women and the future of Afghanistan. And I ask how you wake up now knowing that you're not.
Trey, I think we're losing a bit of Trey's connection, but we have so many more questions to ask him. I think we're going to, at the top of next hour, we're going to go back to Trey. Hopefully his shot is fixed. We'll get the end of that answer as far as women.
I want to get the end of that because what's happening to the women in that country is horrible. The young women. We interviewed the woman with the soccer star that's helping other women in Afghanistan who have played soccer. They're in danger for their lives because they played soccer.
That's right.
They're facing death. And again, no call, as we learned from Megan Rapinoe and these kind of useless woke soccer players here in the United States. Very sad.
Yeah.